I want to begin first by getting into the conversation, Dr. Anand Ranganathan. Dr. Ranganathan, what do you make of this remark by this great Congress MLA?
No, good evening, Rahul, and good evening to all my fellow panelists. No, this is, the objectification of Muslim women by this MLA, and also, I don't know whether you've heard about what our, frequent panelist on Times Now, Mr. Waris Pathan, has said, comparing them to mobile phones with anti-scratch guards. This kind of objectification, Rahul, is wholly condemnable, as is this scaremongering on account of rapes being more prevalent when women don't wear hijabs or burqas. I mean, does this man at all follow data? India has less rapes per women population than many Middle East countries, where Islamic dress code is compulsory. And also, 95% of rapes are committed by relatives and friends known to the survivor. But, here again, in condemning the Muslim clerics or these politicians who are making such misogynistic, patriarchal statements, we again, I'm afraid, are running the risk of snaring the fundamentalists, but sparing the fundamentals. Rahul, I ask you, did this Congress legislator or did Waris Pathan say Muslim women are tilling fields? Did he say men are in charge of women? Did he say daughters should get half of what sons should? The answer is no. It is Allah, the Almighty Allah, who said this, and I quote, "Men are in charge of women by right of what Allah has given one over the other. Those wives from whom you fear arrogance, first advise them. Then if they persist, forsake them in bed, and finally strike them." 434. The share of inheritance of the male shall be twice that of a female. 411. Your women are your tilling fields. So go into your fields whichever way you like. 223. Now tell me, had Waris Pathan or this Congress legislator said Muslim women are tilling fields, what would you, Rahul, or what would I have labeled him as? But let me return to the larger issue here, and it is of hijab, and increasingly, Rahul, if I may say so, this phrase essentiality in religion. I'm afraid this phrase is nonsensical, at least to me, because what is and what isn't essential is subjective, and either at the discretion of the believer or it has been explicitly defined by Allah himself. So no court can override the commandment of Allah when it comes to ascertaining who is a true Muslim and who isn't. A practicing Muslim who believes in the Sharia and every single word that there is in the Holy Quran is a good Muslim, while a practicing Muslim who drinks, fornicates, supports Muslim women who reject the burqa or the hijab, can draw a portrait of whosoever he wishes to, is gay, and is fine with all his fellow Muslims being all of the above, is a bad Muslim. For 1.8 billion Muslims, Allah's word is inviolable, and he himself has said so, not me or you or the High Court. 3362, 6115, 1827, 634. Thing is, the bad Muslims are Islamophobic. They fear to bring out the commandments of their holy book in their entirety on Jews, Christians, polytheists, homosexuality, apostasy, heresy, dress code, wife beating, blasphemy, because they fear being called illiberal. So they end up condemning and branding as radicals the Muslims who are faithfully following the fundamentals. वो सोच रहे होंगे हमारी क्या गलती है भाई? Because just who is and who isn't a non-believer or a believer has been explicitly defined in the holy book by Allah. 33, 36, 3132, 82, 49, 15. Rahul, just 10 seconds. There is no ambiguity. Allah has ordered how women should dress. 24, 31, 33, 59. And no court can overrule him.
Yes,
Doctor.
Rahul, yes. Rahul, we have to accept the fact that in the last 7 years, the following has happened, and I think Shahzad did put his finger on it. Unfortunately, the hatred for Modi has now firmly transmogrified into hatred for India. There is no other way of putting it. You see, I still don't mind if, as the Congress, many leaders said, including Mr. Hari Prasad was one, Mr. Sidhu was another. They said, and I'm quoting them, Modi or Imran Khan ki setting hui hai. Basically alleging and insinuating that Pulwama was done by Modi by a setting, quote unquote, setting with Imran Khan to win the general elections. There was the National Conference spokesperson, Rahul, if you remember, who said that BJP supplied the RDX to the Pulwama bomber.
True.
I still say, chalo theek hai yaar, aap Modi ko gali de rahe ho, Modi ko gali do. But the fact of the matter is, for them to doubt our army, our military, that is going beyond abusing Modi or the BJP. And when they do that, incidentally, this legislator from Telangana, he is so completely wrong on Osama bin Laden. For at least a year, the world took the word of Obama when he said that we have buried Osama at sea. There was no proof that was given. No proof. The proof finally appeared after a year when the videos of Obama looking at some of the videos that he's watching television with his wives appeared. Otherwise, there was no proof. We had to go by his word. So they accepted the word of Obama, but they are not willing to accept, leave Modi. They're not willing to, the reason is they are calling, they call our army chief as Sadak Ka Gunda. But here, 10 seconds, Rahul, I have a word of caution, if I may, for my dear friend Shehzad as well. You see, there is this saying, do not wrestle with a pig because you get dirty and the pig enjoys it. Now, where was the need for Mr. Hemanta Biswa Sarma to wrestle with, say that Rahul Gandhi, hami proof de, what is his paternity? These things are not, just ignore people who are rude and abusive to the army. Where is the need for saying all these derogatory things?
Dr. Ranganathan, what do you make of these remarks that have been made by the Chief Minister in the putative chief ministerial face of the Congress party in Punjab?
No, good evening, Rahul, and good evening to all my fellow panelists. Look, there's no other way of putting this. This kind of parochialism and denigration of the hardworking, honest migrants from UP and Bihar is totally unacceptable. Totally. I condemn it in the harshest of terms. And Rahul, you also know this, I also know this. All hell would have broken loose had any BJP chief minister said this. But since it is a Congress chief minister, let's move on. Nothing to see here. आप लोग कृपया अपने घर जाएं, भीड़ ना लगाएं. Please go home and speak truth to power. You know, Rahul, the dynasty doormats are in a bind here. Because had it been just Channi, they'd have condemned his utterance and escaped. But how can they explain away the wild cheering and applause of Priyanka Gandhi at what Channi said? She is clearly, see the clip, she is clearly in agreement with Channi as to how the UP and Bihar migrant labor is to be treated by Punjabis after elections. Clearly. But there is no other explanation for this except for the fact that the fire lit by the erstwhile Congress zamindars has singed the minds of their progeny so completely that nothing grows on it, on that charred landscape, except entitlement. Remember how Siddaramaiah had made similar disparaging comments about UPites when he was the Karnataka chief minister? Remember how Rahul Gandhi had recently made disparaging comments about North Indians in general, and according to him, their superficial understanding. And the very same guys have the temerity to go to UP and ask for votes with grand promises. But forget that. Let me expose them further, Rahul, with your permission, and come to the reason why they are so condescending and insulting towards UP people. It is because they have kept them poor and impoverished and unemployed and malnourished and uneducated. You don't believe me? Here are the census indices of Amethi and Raebareli, the Nehru-Gandhi Vadra dynasty bastions, when they were under the dynasty control for 60 years. People below poverty line, 54%. Households with electricity, 14%. Vaccinated children, 16%. Neonatal deaths, 83 per thousand. For India, it was 28 during the same time. This is what dynasty reduced Amethi and Raebareli to, even though they kept on electing the Gandhis until 2019. And then, after keeping them like this, they have the gall to mock the poor. कुछ शर्म है या वो भी कोयला समझ के खा गए?